Former U.S. President Donald Trump has had several brushes with the law over the past few years, but the charges he will face in a Miami court today have the most potentially serious legal implications yet. He's accused of illegally taking top-secret government documents to his home in Florida, then obstructing investigators trying to recover them. If convicted, he could face years in prison.
Back in Florida, a state that is home soil for Donald Trump, and the place where on Tuesday afternoon he will appear before a Miami court, the first former US president to face federal criminal charges. Ready for Trump's arrival at his Doral Golf Resort, a small group of supporters, all gearing up for another extraordinary chapter in the life of Donald Trump.
I stay here to support Donald J. Trump. I stand with him, and tomorrow too.
Well, we're losing our values. I think he's being indicted on all the wrong reasons. He basically gave up the paperwork. They call him Teflon Don for a reason.
For the man who wants to win back the White House in 2024 as the Republican pick, the stakes are high. He's facing dozens of charges for hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. If convicted, he could face years in prison. And as is typical of the twice impeached former president, in the days since being indicted, he's been turning up the heat.
The documents, whole thing is a witch hunt. It's a disgrace. It should never happen. It's hurting our country. Joe Biden has 1,850 boxes of documents. He's got documents in Chinatown. He's got documents at Penn. He doesn't want anybody to get them. It's a disgrace what's happening.
Go ahead. Lock him up!
Can't be blocked.
Lock him up!
Tension is already building in Miami ahead of Trump's moment before a federal judge. Thousands could descend on the city, with security being beefed up around the courthouse in preparation.
We obviously believe in the Constitution and believe that people should have the right to express themselves. We encourage people to be peaceful in them demonstrating how they feel. And we're going to have the adequate forces necessary to ensure that.
This is now uncharted water for Donald Trump and the United States.
Thank you, sir.
And what comes next could further divide the country and set the battle lines ahead of next year's presidential election.
We spoke earlier to our correspondent Janelle Dumoulin reporting outside the courthouse where Donald Trump is due to appear today, and she told us more about the federal criminal charges that he's facing.
We are talking about 37 alleged felony charges, 31 of which fall under the Espionage Act. So it's not just that he is alleged to have held on to hundreds of classified documents, held on to them insecurely, showed them to unauthorized parties, and hindered investigators' attempts to locate them. It's that he allegedly did so in such a way that may have endangered national security. Now, if you read the text of the indictment, I'm sure you can hear some of the protesters in the background, Claire. They're all shouting Trump. But back to the indictment, they are talking about national security concerns. So on the text, it says the documents detailed military and nuclear capabilities that the United States had. So this is no small thing, Claire. The president had so much access, and these allegations basically mean that he may have abused that access as president. In terms of how the prosecution's case is, it's worth noting that Jack Smith, the special counsel, would not have brought these charges forward if he did not feel that the case was especially strong. He had a difficult job to do here, getting the authorities to prosecute Donald Trump, the former president, could have brought up allegations of political bias, of interference in the political process. But the way he appears to have done it, for all records and for all metrics, he appears to have laid out his argument very well. His margin of error was very low, but he appears to have succeeded so far in at least laying out that argument. And that brings us here to today in front of this federal courthouse in Miami.
Yeah, these are serious charges with high stakes. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we're expecting to see there in Miami?
Well, as we said, Donald Trump is expected to appear here later. He will be entering a side entrance of this federal courthouse, so not the front entrance. He will be fingerprinted. He will probably not be handcuffed, or there will be no mugshot taken of him. This is also the opportunity for him to say how he's going to plead. That plea is widely expected to be not guilty. He will be appearing alongside two of his lawyers, as well as his longtime aide, Walt Nauta, who himself is also facing charges. Now, ahead of today, he had been calling on his supporters to descend upon Miami. You heard a few of them earlier. I don't know how clearly they were shouting Trump, but it's nowhere near the thousands that the authorities were bracing themselves for. Although, of course, that situation can yet still develop the closer it gets the time that Trump is expected to appear.
Yeah, we did hear some of those voices. I mean, the reason the whole world is watching this is Trump is currently the leading Republican candidate for president. How could this affect his bid for the presidency?
Well, just as Trump does, you know that he's very good at encouraging a persecution narrative. So he's clearly decided to see this crisis as an opportunity. He's used this trial, he's used this impending trial to say that he is the subject of a witch hunt and that funds should be raised for him. He's used it to rally support among his base. But really, what this means is that the Republican Party has a decision ahead of it. Will the distractions of these legal troubles be worth keeping on, mean that it's still worth keeping on Trump as the standard bearer of the party? We don't know that yet. We can't know that yet. But this is definitely unprecedented territory for the country as a whole.
Thank you so much for your reporting. That's DW's Janelle Dumoulin for us in Miami, Florida.